Hi, this is Simon Upstall, and welcome to this follow-up to my recent disintegration transition tutorial, in which we looked at creating this disintegration effect. Now, in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to do the opposite, which is a materialize, so a transition that brings your image on instead of takes it away. And that's going to look something like this. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start from the finishing point of the previous tutorial. So if you're following along, then you'll really need to work through that first tutorial to get to this stage. So you'll remember that we had some test items in that group there, and that's what the disintegration looked like. So the first thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to swap transition A and transition B. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag transition A out of that group that we made there, and I'm going to drag transition B into it. Now, you'll probably remember that transition B had an animation on its opacity. So let's just reset that. So that's at 100. We've removed the animation. However, at the moment, we're just looking at our test objects. So there were two pieces to this animation, one of which was the bump map, and the other was the gradient on the cellular. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up the keyframe editor, window keyframe editor, and what I want to do is I want to switch to animated, which will give me the current animated property of the layer in question. So here we've got the cellular gradient because that's what I've selected there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw around those keyframes there to select them both. And then what I can do is right click on one of them and simply select reverse keyframes. And now that's reversed that cellular animation. So we need to do the same thing with the bump map. So let's select the bump map. And first of all, I want to draw around them and change the interpolation so it's linear. I'm going to fix this in 1 second. And then again draw around them, right click and reverse keyframes. And now you'll see that we've got our reverse animation. So what we'll need to do, however, is we'll need to just come to the video timeline and move that bump map keyframe, that final one, just back 1 frame so that we get, at the end, we get a clean frame of the fully assembled image. And then we can close those editors and we can turn off these two test items. We can turn on transition B and transition A, and then we can just save this as, I've already saved this, but what you'll want to do is you'll want to save as, make sure you select the right directory for it, and then call it Materialise, and publish that. So now here we are in Final Cut. I've searched for my Materialise transition, and I'm going to drag it onto the start of this clip. And then we've got a Materialise effect. Now, the left works correctly, the right works correctly, but you'll notice that up and down are wrong because this technically is now a down, isn't it? And the down is an up. So we just need to rename those two items in motion. So let's go back and do that. So we can come to our rig here, our direction rig, and we just need to rename up as down, and then select down and rename that as up. And then those will be correct. Now there's another thing I want to do, and that's I want to change the easing behavior on the bump map. So I'm going to right click, show keyframe editor for that amount. And what I want to do is I want to select that last keyframe and I want to select ease in. And that'll just smooth it into that final position. Now, while we're in motion, I want to show you one other fun thing we can do. And that is to create, instead of this more kind of organic wave-like transition, I want to create something that's a bit more like a kind of data scramble. And to do that, I'm going to take that cellular generator and I'm going to come to Filters and I'm going to come down to Stylize and I'm going to grab Pixelate. Just going to increase that value to around 15. And you'll see that now we've got something that's more like a data reveal. So what we can do is publish that scale value. Let's come to our project here and let's call that data scale. And we also want to be able to turn the data on and off. So what we're going to do is we're going to come to this rig here and we want to add a checkbox. So click on the checkbox button there. We want to call this data mode. So in order to enable and disable the data mode, what we're going to do is we're going to take the mix value of the pixelate, so that's that value there, and I'm going to drag it onto data mode. Click on data mode to come back here. So with the data mode button off, I want the mix value to be 0. With it on, I want it to be 100. So you can see that's now switching between those two modes. And then all we need to do is we need to publish this data mode. So publish, and then it's in our set of controls. And so now here we are in Final Cut again, and here is what it looks like with data mode. And you'll see that I've got my direction as down and it's coming down, which is good. And we can change that data scale to be something like 30. So that's quite a handy alternative to that look. So just by toggling that data switch, we can switch between the two different modes. So again, if you don't want to be building this yourself, I will be putting a link to a finished version of this with a few more refinements to it in the comments. So thanks very much indeed for watching, and I hope to see you again sometime.